Around 1200 BC, in the humid Gulf Coast lowlands of what is now Mexico, an unprecedented civilization began to emerge. They were not the Maya, yet, centuries later, the very first glyphs of the Maya, their earliest monumental architecture, and even the divine authority of their kings, seem to echo the distinct fingerprints of these enigmatic predecessors. How much of the Maya's genius was truly their own invention, and how much was a sophisticated adaptation of a legacy carved in jade and basalt 1,000 years before? Welcome back to the Earthen Dawn. Today, we delve into one of Mesoamerica's most compelling archaeological debates: the Olmec influence on early Maya civilization. The profound narrative of Mesoamerican civilization begins not with the thunder of warring kingdoms or the silhouette of towering pyramids, but with a quieter, more transformative revolution: the domestication of plants. For millennia, from approximately 7,000 to 2000 BC, hunter-gatherer bands across this vibrant land began the meticulous process of cultivation. Through generations of observation and selective breeding, wild grasses were painstakingly coaxed into the high-yielding staple crop that would sustain entire empires: maize. This foundational agricultural achievement, alongside the cultivation of beans and squash, provided a reliable and abundant caloric surplus, completely transforming human settlement patterns. No longer tethered to seasonal foraging, communities embraced sedentism, leading inevitably to population growth. This surplus freed individuals from perpetual food acquisition, allowing for the emergence of specialized labor. Some dedicated their skills to crafting intricate pottery, like the early Barra phase ceramics found in Guatemala, while others focused on religious practices or the rudimentary administration required for larger settlements. These increasingly complex agricultural villages, nestled within the broader cultural sphere of Mesoamerica, began to develop rudimentary trade networks by the early formative period, roughly 1,800 to 1,200 BC. This gradual evolution was not uniform. Geography played a critical role. For the Olmec, the exceptionally fertile riverine floodplains of the Gulf Coast offered unparalleled agricultural potential, combining rich soils with abundant aquatic and terrestrial resources. This environmental endowment, coupled with growing social complexity, represented the fertile ground upon which the first great civilization of Mesoamerica would emerge. The Olmec did not appear in a vacuum. Their ascent was the culmination of thousands of years of ingenious human adaptation, agricultural innovation, and the slow, deliberate formation of intricate societal structures. From the fertile ground of early agricultural societies emerged a civilization of unprecedented complexity, a true civilizational crucible that would cast the foundational molds for much of Mesoamerica, the Olmec. Flourishing along the humid Gulf Coast lowlands, their influence radiated outwards from major centers such as San Lorenzo Tenochtitlan, which dominated from approximately 1400 to 900 BC, followed by La Venta, ascendant between 900 and 400 BC, and later Tres Zapotes. These were not mere villages, but burgeoning political and ritual hubs, characterized by monumental architecture. La Venta, for instance, boasted colossal earthen platforms and an impressive conical pyramid, a feat of engineering and organized labor that redefined human settlement in the region. The most iconic expression of Olmec power and artistry remains their colossal basalt heads. Carved from singular boulders, some standing over 3 meters tall and weighing upwards of 20 tons, these monumental sculptures represent individual rulers. The sheer logistical ingenuity required to quarry these massive stones from distant volcanic mountains, transport them perhaps over 100 kilometers across rugged terrain and waterways, and then meticulously carve them speaks volumes about the Olmec's centralized authority, their capacity for mobilizing immense labor, and their sophisticated understanding of engineering. These heads, along with elaborate stone altars and stelae, served as indelible public statements, permanently imbuing the landscape with the presence and legitimacy of their rulers. Religious iconography permeated every aspect of Olmec art, reinforcing the ideological underpinnings of their society. The potent word jaguar motif, a hybrid human-jaguar creature, along with figures displaying cleft heads and flame eyebrows, represented powerful supernatural beings deeply connected to agricultural fertility, rain, and shamanistic transformation. These symbols were not decorative but ideological, serving to legitimize the elite who claimed special access to, or even descent from, the divine realm. The early political organization, likely operating as chiefdoms or nascent states, relied heavily on these monumental constructions and shared religious beliefs to demonstrate and maintain control over resources and people. Furthermore, the Olmec established extensive long-distance trade networks, controlling the acquisition and distribution of exotic raw materials such as obsidian from Guatemalan highlands, jade from the Motagua River Valley, and magnetite and iron ore, indicative of far-reaching interactions and economic power. Beyond material goods, the Olmec also laid intellectual groundwork. Evidence from sites like the Cascajal block, dated to approximately 900 BC, suggests the development of early forms of writing. The San Andres cylinder seal points to a nascent glyphic system. Early calendrical concepts and the ritual ball game, which would become ubiquitous across Mesoamerica, also find their precursors in Olmec culture. These innovations were integral components of a coherent societal structure, meticulously designed to reinforce elite power, perpetuate religious belief, and sustain a complex, stratified civilization. The profound innovations of the Olmec did not remain confined to the Gulf Coast lowlands. Instead, a dynamic web of interaction spread their influence across Mesoamerica, forming a cultural current that profoundly shaped nascent Maya communities. This transmission occurred primarily through sophisticated long-distance trade routes, arteries of exchange that coursed along riverine networks, notably the Grijalva and Usumacinta, and through arduous overland trails. Along these paths traveled not only exotic goods such as jade from the Motagua River Valley, obsidian from the Guatemalan highlands, and prized cacao and bird feathers, but also a far more potent commodity: ideas. Archaeologists have long debated the nature of this transmission, polarizing interpretations into what became known as the mother culture and sister culture hypotheses. The former posited the Olmec as the sole genesis point, directly seeding civilization across Mesoamerica. The latter suggested parallel but interconnected developments, with cultures evolving independently while sharing a common heritage. Today, a more nuanced influence and diffusion model prevails, seeing the Olmec not as a singular fount, but as a powerful, early eddy within a larger cultural current. It was through the continuous movement of traders, emissaries, and craftsmen that Olmec innovations, symbols, and practices diffused, often selectively, into surrounding regions. The most profound testament to the Olmec legacy on early Maya civilization emerges from the very fabric of their belief systems and the rich tapestry of their iconography. This was not a superficial borrowing, but a sophisticated integration of powerful cosmological symbols into a nascent Maya worldview. The were jaguar motif, a composite creature with a snarling, downturned mouth, prominent fangs, and a distinctive cleft head, represented a potent force of rain, fertility, and shamanistic transformation, a mediating spirit between human and supernatural realms. Centuries later, Echoes of this primal power appeared in early Maya iconography, notably in the pre-classic murals at San Bartolo and on early ceremonial ceramics. Here, the jaguar's ferocity and connection to the underworld was recontextualized, yet its fundamental symbolism remained profoundly resonant within the Maya pantheon. Similarly, the Olmec penchant for depicting figures with a V-shaped cleft in their heads finds a direct parallel in early Maya representations, particularly with the maize god, whose own head often features this symbolic indentation, signifying germination, emergence, and the very source of life. The formidable dragon, or earth monster, a pervasive Olmec entity with crocodilian features, flame eyebrows, and a gaping, U-shaped mouth, clearly prefigured elements of the Maya cosmic order, embodying the Earth's surface and the entrance to the underworld. Even the revered feathered serpent, later a central deity known as Kukulkan to the Maya and Quetzalcoatl to other Mesoamerican cultures, finds its ancient antecedents in serpentine motifs entwined with avian elements within Olmec iconography. Beyond these specific motifs, the Olmec conceptualized a cosmic tree, or axis mundi, a central pillar connecting the celestial, terrestrial, and underworld realms, a foundational idea that the Maya would elaborate into their own complex world tree mythology. This shared symbolic vocabulary extended to material culture. The aesthetic principles evident in Olmec jade carving, ceramic decoration, and even monumental stone sculpture informed early Maya artistic traditions. The presence of Olmec-style celts and ceremonial axes, often imbued with potent symbolism within early Maya ritual contexts, further underscores this profound inheritance. The Maya did not merely copy, they absorbed, adapted, and reinterpreted these potent Olmec symbols, imbuing them with new layers of meaning, effectively building their divine cosmology upon the bedrock laid by their enigmatic predecessors. This process was fundamental to legitimizing their burgeoning elite power and articulating their unique relationship with the cosmos. Beyond their monumental art and complex religious cosmology, the Olmec also laid the intellectual bedrock upon which Maya civilization would construct its most celebrated achievements: writing, calendrics, and astronomy. This was not a sudden explosion of genius in the Maya lowlands, but rather a gradual evolution, profoundly shaped by the ingenuity of their predecessors. The earliest glimmerings of a writing system in the Americas emerge from the Olmec heartland. The Cascajol block, a serpentine slab dated to approximately 900 BC, presents a series of 62 distinct glyphs, possibly representing the initial stages of a complex script. Further evidence comes from the San Andres cylinder seal, dating to roughly 650 BC, which bears 2 glyphs and a depiction of a bird. While these early systems remain undeciphered, they speak to an extraordinary intellectual leap, the development of abstract symbols to record language or concepts. Centuries later, the Isthmian, or Epi-Olmec, script, flourishing from around 150 BC to 200 AD, offers a clearer genealogical link. Monuments such as La Mohara Stela I and the Tuxtla Statuette display a more elaborated system, complete with glyphic blocks and the distinct bar and dot notation for numbers, structural and numerical antecedents that are undeniably direct precursors to the later Maya script. Crucially, it was within this Epi-Olmec cultural sphere that the monumental long count calendar was likely invented. This sophisticated system, capable of tracking vast spans of time from a fixed mythical starting point, became the backbone of Maya historical record-keeping. The earliest unequivocal long count date, recorded on Stela C from Tres Zapotes, reads 31 BC. Significantly, this monument is found outside the core Maya territories, Yet its numerical and calendrical system would be adopted and refined by the nascent Maya states. This achievement was predicated upon a profound understanding of numeracy, including the revolutionary concept of positional notation and the explicit use of zero, both expressed through the very bar and dot system first evidenced in Olmec inscriptions. Furthermore, the foundational concepts underpinning the 260-day Tzolk'in and 365-day Hab, the sacred and civil calendars so central to Maya life, find early conceptual echoes in Olmec and Izapan traditions. Their ceremonial sites often reveal purposeful alignments with solstices and equinoxes, demonstrating an early command of celestial observation that foreshadowed the Mayas' renowned astronomical precision. The Olmec did not merely sculpt impressive artworks. They forged a revolutionary template for political authority that would resonate across Mesoamerica for a millennium. From approximately 1400 BC, their colossal basalt heads, weighing upwards of 20 tons and standing several meters tall, served as undeniable, monumental portraits of individual rulers. These weren't anonymous effigies. They depicted specific individuals adorned with elaborate headdresses and regalia, projecting an image of centralized power and personal command previously unseen in the region. Similarly, Olmec altars, often depicting rulers emerging from supernatural clefts, reinforced a powerful ideology. These leaders were mediators between the human and divine realms, possessing shamanistic abilities or divine ancestry. This concept of divine kingship, where a ruler's authority was intrinsically linked to cosmological order, formed the bedrock of their socio-political structure. As major Olmec centers like San Lorenzo waned and others, like La Venta, rose and eventually declined by 400 BC, the nascent Maya elites observed and adapted this potent blueprint. In emerging early Maya centers such as Nakbe, El Mirador, and nascent Tikal during the Middle and late pre-classic periods, rulers consciously adopted similar visual and ideological tools to solidify their own authority in newly forming city-states. Maya elites began to commission stela monuments, depicting themselves in grand Olmec-esque postures, wearing elaborate jade pectorals and towering headdresses, symbols of prestige and divine connection that directly echoed Olmec precedent. Furthermore, the early Maya architectural expressions of power, particularly their impressive E-groups and ceremonial platforms, appear to be a monumental adaptation of earlier Olmec-related traditions. These structures, often aligned astronomically, served not only as focal points for worship, but as stages for the display of royal authority and sophisticated celestial knowledge. The control over long-distance trade networks, facilitating access to exotic goods like jade and obsidian, also served as a critical source of prestige and power for both Olmec and subsequently early Maya elites, visually manifesting their dominion and influence. The Olmec, therefore, provided not just a collection of symbols, but a coherent, effective strategy for governance, rooted in divine legitimization and monumental display. The trajectory of Mesoamerican civilization took a significant turn as the great Olmec centers, once vibrant hubs of innovation, entered a period of profound transformation and eventual decline. San Lorenzo Tenochtitlan, the earliest monumental center, saw its preeminence fade by approximately 900 BC, followed centuries later by La Venta, which, after a period of intense activity, was largely abandoned around 400 BC. This was not a sudden cataclysm, but rather a complex, multifaceted process. Archaeological theories suggest a confluence of factors contributed: shifts in environmental conditions, potentially exhausting local resources, internal social dynamics, perhaps leading to unrest, or external pressures from neighboring groups. Crucially, The evolving dynamics of long-distance trade routes, upon which Olmec elites had built much of their power and prestige, also played a significant role, diverting vital resources and influence away from the Gulf Coast heartland. However, the decline of Olmec centers did not signify an end to Mesoamerican complexity. Rather, it initiated a handover, creating a power vacuum that diverse successor cultures were primed to fill. In the Isthmian region, cultures like Izapa and the Epi-Olmec emerged between roughly 400 BC and 250 AD, acting as vital cultural bridges. They not only preserved but further developed many Olmec intellectual and artistic traditions, directly linking the Olmec legacy to the burgeoning Maya world. Concurrently, the southern Maya lowlands, benefiting from fertile riverine systems and a growing population base, witnessed an accelerated expansion of complexity during the Middle and late pre-classic periods, roughly from 600 BC to 250 AD. Sites such as Nakbe and El Mirador in Guatemala, Cerros in Belize, and early manifestations of Tikal and Uaxactun began to develop monumental architecture on an unprecedented scale. El Mirador, in particular, became a sprawling metropolis, boasting massive pyramid complexes and extensive Sacbe roads connecting its various sectors, architectural ambitions clearly building upon, and in some cases surpassing, the Olmec precedent. While absorbing these deep influences, nascent Maya cultures simultaneously forged their own distinct regional identities, reinterpreting inherited traditions through their unique cultural lenses. Thus, the fading of the Olmec light provided the fertile ground for the Maya sun to rise, inheriting a civilization's foundational blueprint and ready to build upon it with unparalleled innovation. The profound echoes of the Olmec reverberated through the burgeoning Maya world, leaving an indelible imprint that fundamentally shaped one of ancient Mesoamerica's most celebrated civilizations. We have seen how the foundational elements, from the potent symbolism of the jaguar and the nascent feathered serpent deity, to the very conceptual scaffolding of their writing systems and the intricate calculations of the long count calendar, alongside the ideological underpinnings of divine kingship and the ambition for monumental architecture, all carried the distinct genetic code of Olmec innovation. The Maya did not merely inherit, they assimilated, transforming these seeds into something uniquely their own. While the Olmec provided the grammar of complexity, the Maya composed their own distinct epic, developing unparalleled artistic styles, a rich and diverse pantheon, and an intricate, decentralized political landscape that was ultimately their own creation. The influence, therefore, was not a straitjacket, but a powerful starting point, a shared vocabulary from which new narratives could be forged. This understanding allows us to move beyond the simplistic mother culture versus sister culture debate, acknowledging instead a more nuanced model of pervasive, significant influence. It illustrates the complex interplay of cultural diffusion and creative adaptation that characterizes much of human history. Indeed, the archaeological debate continues, each new discovery refining our understanding of these interactions, underscoring the dynamic and evolving nature of historical interpretation itself. Furthermore, the Olmec legacy extended beyond the Maya, influencing cultures like the Zapotec, thus foreshadowing the interconnected cultural sphere that would define Mesoamerica for millennia. The discovery and subsequent understanding of this Olmec influence dramatically reshaped our chronology of Mesoamerican development, revealing the deep indigenous roots of its advanced civilizations. This relationship between Olmec and Maya is crucial because it unveils the continuous thread of cultural evolution, demonstrating how the ingenuity of one epoch can become the fertile ground for the grandeur of the next, cementing the Olmec's place not just as precursors, but as true architects of Mesoamerican civilization. If you enjoyed this journey through ancient history, consider subscribing to our channel for more insights into the world's epic past.